won't bring you up to speed on the things that we have been doing, which we think will be moving the OLM into a stronger future. One of the problems that we've had that always tends to keep the organization in a state of stagnation is we expect people to function on a volunteer basis, and it doesn't really work. Our people come for election, they're excited about the election, the gladiator, scene, and they'll pay $5. Then after the election, they will go do their hair, buy a new clothes suit to go for the coronation of the victor. And you will see the lines from here to eternity. And then after that, they wait now to see, oh, what are people doing? What do people say? What are people doing? What do people say? You don't get much support either financially, morally, or in any other regards to keep the association sustaining itself. And so what we realize is that in order for us to really, truly be able to move to a different level, this organization had to be able to get funding, to be able to have dedicated staff, people that can be paid, that's their job, you expect them to be there because you paid them to do that. And if they're not there, you have some leverage over them. Right now, I can fire a committee chair. The only thing going to come out of it is just animosity between that person and myself. But they will not miss anything on the dining room table. The card note will not be affected because I fired them. So, but if you're paying the person, you can say, look, here's your review. You're not performing up to standard. And that person will take notice. So what we've done is we've put in a lot of funding applications. Most of these funding applications come in by cycle. These organizations that are donors, you don't just go to them to say, oh, I need money, then they'll take an application. They have the time schedules when these fundings come available, then they put out a request for proposal. I want to announce that we were able to win a $10,000 grant from the Ushu Foundation. In collaboration with the African Assistance Program, the Nigerian organization, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn City, Brooklyn Center, City, to do what they call product education, community development funding. We need to have the memorandums of understanding done by all the parties before the funds are released. We have done ours. I believe one or two other entities as soon as they send theirs, so that funding will be available. We have also applied for funding with the Census Bureau to participate in the next census count as a partner. And in doing that, what we've done is we brought information to all of our county organizations and even some tribal and other organizations who can also take part in it, but they can sponsor your programs, which as long as you're advertising the census, then they pay your vendor directly. There will be another round of that, which the applications are due on July 30th because the information came somewhat late. We're not able to get everybody, so those that we missed in the first round, we'll make sure that they're available for the July 30th cutoff. And the Vice President, I can say, is working really, really hard in this regard. We've also applied and completed that process, met the deadlines this going week for funding that is through government entities that is a one-year contract, but if you perform well, it can go for 5 years. And in that, we are requesting $100,000 per year. And that will allow us to have 2 paid staff and pays for some, some other expenses. And we're really, really excited about that. We're very confident that we're going to get that. We have people who are pushing for us to get that. The deadline the deadline is passed. The announcement will be made in September. I want to thank again the Vice President and Mr. Christian Harris here, who's been working very hard on this, on the Constitution Committee. Harris just graduated with a master's degree in nonprofit management, and we asked him to come on board as one of our project managers, and he's been very, very instrumental in making sure that these things go through. So by the grace of God, by the efforts of the team, OLM will be having $100,000 a year to carry on these programs with, and I think that is very substantial in moving us from that completely volunteer organization to one that you know you have people who it is their daily bread, they're responsible to do things, and they're accountable. You can hold them accountable, and you have leverage to hold them accountable. We have some meetings this week with other government entities towards the same end, and we're expecting that as they want to work with us, as they want to embrace us, we will be able to get more funding in this regard to keep this organization strong. And so we need all of your cooperation, we need all of your prayers. We also put in for a small grant which starts with $3,500 but could go up to as much as $20,000 for capacity building, strategic planning, and those kinds of things that strengthen the organization, to train people where to get funding, how to put in funding applications, because that's a skill that we need to continue to develop, that people can develop the skill for grant writing and program design, and making sure that money is coming into this community so that people want us to serve ourselves. But we have to step up to the plate and say, yes, we're able to serve ourselves. This is what we want to do. This is what it takes for us to do it. And this is what we're asking for. And so we're very vigorously going after that with the hope that a few months from now, this will not be a volunteer position. And we can expect that somebody will be the full-time job of 2 or 3 or 4 people to make sure that the OLM runs effectively. And that people who are volunteering their time here and there perhaps can get volunteer stipends. So that's very important. And to support all of this, we have the grant from the federal government for the community center. Our initial dream has been to get a facility which would be large enough to have a banquet hall and things like that. And that would be at least $1 million to $1.2 million. But when you look at the financial environment that we're in now, major corporations are having difficulty getting loans. And we deem that it's going to be very difficult for the OLM to get a loan now to be able to finance the type of project that we want to have. So the decision we've come to is that because we have a time limit, if we don't use that money, we're going to lose it by the end of this fiscal year, not the fiscal year that starts July 1st. We have to spend the money before the end of FY 2009-2010. Instead of losing the money, what we decided to do is to use that and pay cash for facility. There's an office condo. We can't afford the whole building, but it's broken up into office condos. You buy your own condo, 6, 7 rooms, and this can pay cash for one of those for us. The first one we put in the application, they put in the purchase agreement for. He didn't like the offer, he accepted another offer. Perhaps that might not go through or not, depending on financing, but we are putting in another offer for the other suite in there. So we'll have a place with 5, 6 rooms that we won't have to pay rent for, and we can use it as our offices. And the only thing we have to worry about is utilities and putting furniture in place. And granted that these fundings come in, we don't have to look for where these people are going to sit to do their work. OLM will have its own place that it can function from. The first facility we looked at, they had an initial offering price of I think $270.